Hey there, Drawyah here, and welcome to this video where we shall be taking a look at the 787XE project for Microsoft Flight Simulator. The 787XE is a freeware community project being put together by the Hangar9 team, and is set to rebuild the 787-10 with all new systems, all new features, and bring it much more realistic to that of the real 787. So, similar to the fly-by-wire A320X, or for example the Zibo 737 for X-Plane, it's a freeware mod that rebuilds the default aircraft and improves it with all new systems, all new functions, like I say, much more realistic than the real operations 787. And likewise, special mention to this aircraft too, because as this is the premium deluxe edition aircraft, as developers know, it has a lot more encryption, a lot more behind it that makes it much more difficult to mod. However, these developers have found a way around all of that, and while there is a lot of limitations at this stage to what they can and can't do, they have managed to do a lot to this aircraft that really has improved it in terms of operations. So, during this video, I'll show you how to download and install it, and likewise I'll go through all of the upgraded editions that's now included on the 787-10. Downloading the 787XE is nice and simple and only requires two steps. Firstly, you want to come to the 787XE GitHub page, head down to Code, and then download the zip. It'll pop up with the download file, click on Open or Save, press OK, and just like that, the 787 will now download to your local system. What you then want to do is head over to your Microsoft Flight Simulator installation location. So in my case, it's in C Games Microsoft Flight Simulator, but depending on whether or not you use the Steam Edition or Microsoft Store Edition, then the defaults for these are going to be different. And so on screen now are the default installation locations for your reference. What you're then going to do is head into the community folder, open up the zip file, and head inside the 787XE master file. Here you'll find a file called B787-XE. What you're going to do is drag and drop this into the community file. It should take less than a second, but just like that, your 787XE will now be installed. Hangar9 also have a Discord server, linked which is in the description, where you can keep up to date with the latest development updates to the project, and also speak to the developers behind it to see what new features are coming, what stage they're at, and also other systems they're also doing as well. So, worth checking out, links in the description, feel free to see what the community has on offer. So here we are inside the Hangar9 787XE, sitting at a stand in Los Angeles, LAX. We'll go through an aircraft startup procedure and go through all the new features and systems that the XE add-on includes. First things first, head to the overhead panel and turn on the battery. We'll also turn on the external power, both forward and aft, and head back down to the main view. I'll also set up the ICAS space how I like it, so ND on the left, and on the right we have our engine information and system information on the right. Now, let's zoom into the right hand ICAS and take a look at the new pages that are included, starting off with the door page. So, this here shows you which doors are open, which doors are closed, and as you see right now, the entry, one left and forward cargo doors are both open right now. You can confirm that by heading outside and having a quick check. So, cargo's been loaded, door is open, on the left hand side the jet bridge is connected, and therefore passengers are boarding to enter the aircraft. Next we have the gear page, the gear temperatures and heats, so you can see that the gear pressures are all set, as well as the temperature of the blocks, and so as it stands all is neutral, is kind of room temperature, air temperature outside, and after a particularly heavy landing you'll notice that the pressures may change, you'll notice that the brake blocks will heat up. And so use this page to determine are your brakes too hot to continue, or are you free to continue taxiing to gate or runway. Very useful, especially after reject takeoff too. Next we have a look at the status page, which shows you the aircraft's hydraulic quantities, your APU setup, your oxygen and liquid cooling. And finally we have the electrical synoptic page, which shows you the aircraft electric systems and how they are running. So as it stands, we are running off the external power, both forward and rear. If, for example, I was to turn off the right-hand side forward external power units, you'll now notice that it's available, so it's highlighted in green, but there's no connection being made, and therefore it's a white closed line. The rear is still powering, the front's still powering, but the right-hand side currently off. Turn that on again, Now show it as a power running through. So these pages are all dynamic and do follow up to date information based on what the external is doing right now, and well worth keeping an eye on as your aircraft sets up. So you can see tug moves back, door will close, and the door page should update. There we go, as soon as the door closes. Let's now jump to FMS and let's start programming our flights. Position, currently at Los Angeles, Kilo Lima Alpha X-ray. We will then copy the coordinates off of that and paste it into the IRS position. So the IRS is the aircraft's GPS system. It's what the aircraft uses to track its position in the world, and then matches that against the FMS data for certain waypoints for the FMS setup. And so IRS is the aircraft's positioning system that all systems run off of. After that, we head over to routes, and let's look at our waypoints. So for the purpose of this tutorial, we're setting up flights from Los Angeles to New York JFK. However, if you've got different routes, you have different waypoints, obviously. So plug in your waypoints, I'll plug in mine, you know the drill. So starting off with Kilo Lima Alpha X-ray, flying to Kilo Juliet Foxtrot's Kilo JFK. If you have a flight number, plug it in now. If you have a company route, plug it in now. If not, wait for the two waypoints to appear. And once you're happy, click on Next. We'll plug in our first waypoint of Tusti, followed by Nickel, and then it's Pila, followed by Avery, and then it's Lancy. You'll now notice we've run out of space on the first page, and so what we're going to do is head over to the next page. You'll now see that we've got a fresh new page for us to enter more waypoints into, starting with Juso. Followed by Hoxol. Give it a few seconds for the waypoints to update. Can be a bit slow sometimes, but generally it's not too bad. After Hoxol, it's Sags. Followed by Twain. Once again, run out of space on the next page, so we'll go to the next page, starting with Ali, followed by Guam, and then it's McMahon, before finally flying to Valo. Once you're happy with that, you can activate the flight plan and execute stats. On the next page now, you'll see the flight plan's been plugged in. We can head over to Plan, zoom out, and then using this page, you can just check the flight plan, check the waypoints, going step by step, make sure you're happy with everything you see. So step, 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 step. That all looks good. Flight plan looks good. Happy with that. Back to the map, zoom in again, and now we're plugging our departure. So if you speak to ATC, or using in my case Simbury flight plan, you can set up your departure runway and star. Right now it's runway 07 left via the Tutsi 2 departure. There you go. So confirm that, execute that. So head to routes, execute that, head to legs. You'll now notice that it's added the user waypoints and bully points to departure. So it's no longer a straight beeline path out, but instead we take a slightly more indirect route towards the Tutsi waypoints. Let's head back to the overhead panel and start setting up the rest of the aircraft flights. We will turn on the navigation lights. We will also turn on the APU. So switch to on, Then push and hold start for about 3 seconds. And then release. Outside, you'll hear the APU engine starting up. And inside the aircraft, if you switch over to the electrics page, you can now see the APU both starting up. And as soon as it turns green, you'll then know that it's available to connect. So it'll take a few seconds for it to turn on and stabilise. There we go. And we can now turn on the APU generators and turn off the external powers. So you can see now there's no more power coming from outside, but instead the APU generators are powering the aircraft as a whole. Now head back to the FMS, head to initial reference, and set up our performance. So cruising today will be flight level 370. Cost index is 50. Thrust limits, that's all fine. Takeoff, we use 10 degrees of flaps. And you can now see our rotate speed is 153 knots. So these speeds is another thing that's been updated in the 787XE. And these are numbers that are much more accurate to real world aircraft. So before, it was sending up to like 190 knots rotates and do this, do that at crazy speeds. Now, it's a lot lower, a lot more realistic to the real aircraft. So that's another thing that the 787XE does, which is more accurate and therefore gives you a better experience when flying the aircrafts. With that set, you can now head over to the overhead panel, turn on the beacon lights, and alert ground crews that are now ready for engine starts. We'll set the anti-icing to automatic, very important. And we'll now return back to the fronts. Clear the master caution. We'll press Shift P to call the pushback tug over. And since we'll be pushing your nose to the right, request a left-hand turn during the pushback. So remember, when calling the pushback direction of turn, we'll be doing it via the tug point of view and not your point of view. Now waiting for the tug to apply pressure onto the nose. As soon as it does, we'll then release the parking brake. Overhead panel, turn on the fuel pumps to the right hand side, and then flick the engine starter to start. So start up engine 2 first, start the right engine, then the left engine. Watch the N2, wait for that to hit around 1718. When we do that, request the steer to the right. Engine 2 fuel flow starts. As soon as the start switch flicks back to normal, which will happen automatically, we'll then start up the left-hand engine. Fuel pumps make sure they're active first, and as soon as the N2 hits around 1718 marker, then starts the fuel flow for engine 1. Now, so as it stands, the flight control page is also currently in up, but again, it's something that they are currently working on, and so you should expect it within the next couple of weeks. But what that does is a page on the aircraft that lets you check the flight controls, the elevators, ailerons, and rudder. I'll basically map that to the displays and show you what you're currently inputting. We'll lower the flaps down to 10 degrees. Now watching the electrics page, waiting for the engines to active. Since the right hand side, active and introducing power. Left hand side now active, introducing power. The APU is now stopped, introducing power. And therefore we can now shut that off from the overhead. So generators off, APU off. We'll then request taxi instructions from the control tower. And as soon as you got that, turn on the taxi lights, which is the left hand side. You have strobes on the right, taxi on the left. They're no longer labelled for whatever reason. So remember, taxi left, strobes right. Release parking brake, increase throttle, and off you go. And finally, the heads-up display is now colored green instead of blue, and also you have the landing information, so the guidance for the glide slope and localizer on screen as well. This again, much more useful, much more realistic to the real-world 787's operations, and it's just much nicer to have as opposed to just looking at the PFD all the time. So as before, you can click on it to close and open it. All the information is in front of you. It's now the accurate screen colour, and it's just a better system overall. 1,000 feet, autopilot disable. Let's bring the aircraft into land. Well, there you go. That is the 787XE by Hangar9 from Microsoft Flight Simulator, and like I say, it's a freeware community mod out there, which is certainly well for download. The upgrade systems, the better functionality, it's there, it's free, it's well worth picking up, and like the A320X, like the Sol 74, just these freeware community projects out there really do help flight sim grow, and really introduce more people into simming, and introduce more people into more realistic aircraft that is well worth picking up from the get-go. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Do you like if you did enjoy it? Do subscribe as well if you haven't done so already. Thank you very much for the support you've shown me recently. It has been truly phenomenal. And I can't thank you guys enough, really. And also, I know a lot of people have been asking me about the 787XE, and I know that a lot of people have been looking for an upgraded aircraft, so do also consider sharing the video as well. Share it with your friends, share it in groups, places that I know people have been looking for an upgraded 78, and just like Hangar9, just like Flyby with the A320X, just like Salty with the 747, just like these guys will be the ones to take the 787 forward and really improve it systems-wise. Otherwise, thank you for watching, you take care of yourselves, and I shall see you again in the very near future. Take care and goodbye.